Hello, students. My name is Juan de la Cruz. I am going to be the instructor of the microeconomics summer 2022 class. And I'm going to go through some important aspects of the class. This is a very short course. You know that the summer is very intense and the material that we need to cover, it's a lot. So at this point, everybody should be at the same page, okay? So I'm gonna go through some of the most important issues of the class, starting with the syllabus. So this is the most important part because the syllabus is gonna tell you the requirements of the class, how you can be successful in a short class, how you can maximize your chances to get a good grade. First of all, this is an online class. That means that we are not meeting unless you want me to go through some issues. Feel free to ask me for a consultation or even a class. I will be happy to do that. So, so please do so. The required materials, in this case, is a very good choice, I guess, is the OpenStax book, which is free, Principles of Microeconomics. Please be aware that we have macroeconomics and microeconomics. So this class is micro. We're going to be dealing with firms, industries, and that's the idea of this class. Micro is different from macro because we look at the economy overall. We don't pay attention on the sectors. We look at the overall economy, whereas microeconomics, we take a look at different sectors. For example, why Apple computers are expensive or why they can be cheap. For example, in this case, a microeconomic analysis might be related to the supply chain. So Apple is facing problems of production. So their cost of production is increasing because the scarcity of the materials. So the firm is facing elevated cost of production, and then salaries, wages are rising because also the labor market is tight. And some of the factors that influence the price of the products. So as we can see in the past 8 weeks, the stock market is losing points, and that is not good because that reflects in bad performance of the economy, of the firms. So in this case, if you look at the Nasdaq lost almost 20% in the past quarter. So, and this is because of the rising inflation. So if we want to take a macroeconomic approach, we take a look more on the factors that cause inflation. So inflation belongs more to the macroeconomic analysis. So in this case, we're going to be looking at the determinants of the cost of production and how the firms can maximize their production while minimizing their cost. So that's the goal of the company, how we can sell more and spend less, right? So that's the idea of economics. Economics is dealing with the scarcity. And if many students are having this kind of romantic idea of equality, which is maybe true, I think microeconomics focuses more on the use of resources, the best way. So it's the best use of resources. So many of the decisions made by firms probably are very far from being equal or promote equality. It doesn't mean that they cannot do that. They can, and in fact, they are moving towards this. But we just keep in mind that firms are looking for profits, and the higher the profits, the more they are going to produce, right? So, So don't get confused, because in many cases we think that firms should be serving populations. In fact, they are, by producing the goods that we want. But if you want a good, of course, you are willing to pay a price. So that's what makes this topic very interesting. Once again, don't get confused between the concept of good economy, good firm, versus how that firm can help people. Firms are not there to help people. Firms and businesses are there to make money. So I hope you get that concept. Is very important. The good news of this class is that we are going to have these principles of microeconomics from OpenStax, which is free. So you just click in the link and you are going to be directed to the textbook. So all the so here we have the table of contents. We're skipping chapter 1 and 2, and 3. I put some information. It's very important that you revise the concept of supply and demand. So that is the basis for our microeconomic analysis. I know that if you took macro, you already covered those topics. If you didn't cover supply and demand and the market equilibrium, I strongly encourage students to go through this. That's the basics. If you are thinking about how a firm can determine the price of a product, well, it has to do with demand and supply. So there are many issues that define demand as well as supply. And at the end, the equilibrium, the market is producing the right amount of goods at the right price, happens when supply and demand intersect. So that is a concept that probably can be a boring concept, but when you grasp the idea how the demand and the supply are determined and what are the factors shifting those demands and supplies, I think you are going to be in a very good place to do this course. So once again, I encourage very, very strongly to go through the chapter number 3, which is supply, demand, and market equilibrium. So at the end, that's what matters, how demanders and suppliers, producers and consumers can reach an agreement. And I said agreement because that is what the market does. Just an example, Apple, going to the Apple example, they produce computers. So they can produce the best computers, but probably the price is too high and consumers don't want to buy it, right? Probably the technology is super good and consumers are willing to pay the price. So we don't know until we are facing the market. So in this case, what determines the price of Apple? Well, it's a combination of the technological features of the product and the willingness of the consumer to pay for that product, right? So, and I said ability and willingness because I might be willing to buy a Ferrari, but I can't. So I am unable to buy a Ferrari because I don't have enough money. I might be able to buy the Ferrari, but probably I don't like it. I like the Volkswagen. So that is a matter of taste and preference. So all these factors are determining why producers and consumers are interacting and how they make their choice, right? So once again, please go back to the book, read supply, demand and supply, and understand how the market equilibrium happens, and then start working on the topics. So this is not mandatory, it's not graded, but it's gonna save your life if you don't have this strong background on supply and demand. Okay, I will probably make some notes available later today, so if you have any question, please let me know. So you have the book. The book is free. That's a very good thing, but free for who? So free doesn't mean that you don't have to pay a price. In this case, you have to pay the price of time. So the fact that the book is free means that you have to read it. I know many cases, I have been teaching this class for so many years. Students, even the students who buy the book, very occasionally, they read the book. So they go to the PowerPoints and all these things, and they don't read the book. So the idea is to read the book. It's free. We have also PowerPoints and everything available. So, so that's the idea. So you have the principles of microeconomics. So some of the requirements, let me just go through this. You have to solve problem sets. I'm going to show you how to access them. Also, you have exams and you have to write a reflection paper. So this reflection paper is very simple. You have to write a reflection paper of the 2 chapters, at least 350 words, means that you can, that's the minimum, you can write more. I know 2 topics are very rich. You might have a lot of material to describe. So 300 words is the minimum. You fall below the 350, you will be penalized. You copy and paste, the software is gonna identify plagiarism. So please be aware that your writing is gonna be very important. These reflection papers basically are gonna be described, or you have to describe the nature of the module in 350 words using your own words, right? So that is challenging because writing is always not the easiest part, but that will ensure that you read the book, okay? So please take this assignment seriously. 350 words is almost nothing. So you can write more, but because this semester is very short, I think 350 or more is very appropriate. So, so we have the problem sets, we have the exams, and we have the reflection paper. Even though each reflection paper is not that, how to say, it's just 5 points. So let's say that you don't do the 4, you are losing almost 20 points. We are using a point system. Every time you complete an assignment, you get points. You want to get an A, you have to maximize the points that you are earning. So it's different, it's somehow similar to the weighted average that we always use, like 30% the exams and 20% this. So this is easier, I guess, and motivates students to study hard. So you see that some assignments are more important than others, but at the end, all of them have some weights. So in this case, problem sets, we have several, and you will see the exam and the reflection paper. You want to maximize your grade, you have to complete the assignments and do the best you can in those assignments. So regarding the problem sets, we have Newton. So you have to go to Newton. And as you can see, you have module 1, then module 2, and then module 3, 4, and 4, right? So those are the assignments that you have to answer. As you can see, June 2nd is the first deadline, followed by June 11th, the second deadline. So by this time, by June 2nd, you have to complete the problem sets, you have to complete the exam, and you have to write the reflection paper. So far, I just showed you the problem sets. You go to Newton, you open your Newton, and you start working in these problem sets. I saw that many students are already doing it. Thank you. You are saving time. It's very wise. There are many assignments. There are 8 chapters to cover, and those chapters are big chapters. So it's very wise that you are starting the class right now, okay? Or in advance. So far, I showed you the problem sets. For the exams, let me just go back to content by modules. So as you can see, we have a link. You said, oh, I don't find my Newton. Okay, I'll just click here and you are in Newton, right? So you have to go to the content by modules. So you don't find the book is here. There is no excuse for anybody not to read the book, okay? So as I said before, chapter 3 is not graded, it's an introductory reading, is mandatory but not graded. So you can open it, you can go to the PowerPoints, and then you read the corresponding chapter. So very important, law of demand, law of supply, and market equilibrium. So this is the basics, this is the minimum you need to know, okay? So once you understand these issues, you are gonna be fine. So then you go after the equilibrium, you go to the shifting of supply and demand, very important issues. Why the price of computers are increasing? Well, there are something that offset the demand or offset the supply, and then they are shifting and they are having an impact on prices and in quantities. So, so that is the first part. So we have the non-mandatory reading, the mandatory not graded. Then we have module 1. In module 1, we have same format, we have the PowerPoint and some content that will be helpful for you to understand. You read the book, you follow the PowerPoints, and then you watch the videos, you will be good to answer questions, okay? So we have each module. In this case, module 1 has 2 different chapters, elasticity, cost, and industry structure. So at the end of this module, you have here a window, Dropbox. You have to upload your paper here. So you have to write a 350 or more words summary of the two chapters, chapter number 5 and chapter number 7. Okay, very important. Make sure that whatever you are writing is in your own words. It's on your own words. Don't use, because it's too short, do not use quotation marks. Don't cite the textbook. I already know the concepts. I want to know whether you understand the concepts. So copying and pasting, whatever it does, even though you are making the proper quotation, doesn't help me to have a good understanding of what you have learned in this class. So then you have the problem sets in Newton, you have the reflection paper, and then you take the test, right? So this is gonna be the test. I probably shouldn't be, so this is gonna be the test. Let me go back because those are the answers. I made a mistake, but I hope it's fine. So you have this first test, and as you can see, this is module 1. You go to module 2, and it has the same thing. So you have the 2 different chapters, you have your reflection paper, you have your second test, and then you have to go to Newton and answer module number 2. And as you can see, module 2 is due on June 11th. So not difficult to understand. I know that this is very standard for the classes. The point I want to make is this course is very short. So completion in the proper time is highly required. There will be no extensions, only in few occasions with very well justified argument. I can reopen assignments, but there is a deadline. Please, please, please be very faithful to that deadline. It's very important. And I know that everybody is busy. I have students having 2-3 jobs, doing 2-3 classes, 5 classes. I understand that. So, but this is a class and you made the commitment. and please try to complete the assignments on time. So basically, what the whole course is going to be, so the main parts of this portal is going to be the course information, where you have the description of your course. So those are the topics. This is module 1, elasticity and production cost and industry structure. Module 2, perfect competition and monopoly. Module 3, monopolistic competition and oligopoly. And this monopoly and antitrust policies. Those are very interesting. So this is demand and supply. We know that we reach the equilibrium, and sometimes we learn in our first class of demand and supply that if the price of a product increases, the quantity demanded decreases. So that's what we learned here. So elasticity is going to tell me by how much. Well, it depends on many factors. Some products are very elastic, so that means they are very sensitive to changes. The prices are very sensitive to changes in price. The quantities are very sensitive to changes in price. So when the price changes, the quantity changes a lot. So an example might be a vacation. So you pay for your vacation, or you see it in the market, in the website, $1,000 for 7 days in Greece and hotel, and you say, well, I will take it. So the price is good. But then the price increases very likely, like for example, to the double from 1,000 to 2,000, you might say, well, I cannot afford it. So you don't use the product. So it's very well known that trips and all these things are very sensitive to changes in prices. Sometimes when you have, for example, stream services like Netflix or Hulu, so they are cheap, you buy all of them, but then the prices start increasing, and then you start being more selective. And at the end, if the price gets too expensive, you probably will quit all of them. So, so the question that is raised here in elasticity means if prices increase, by how much the quantity is going to change, right? So once again, many products are very elastic. So the changes in prices cause big changes in the demand or the quantity demanded, and some products are inelastic. For example, you buy salt to put the condiment in your food, and it costs $1, right? So the big pack is $1. So the price goes to $2. You will say, well, I still need salt. I am not going to stop buying salt. Even if the price goes from $1 to 25 cents, why do you want to buy more? You don't need more salt than the necessary. So in many cases, a change in the price of salt doesn't change by much the quantity demanded. So we have these changes in quantity demanded and quantity supplied, and we can apply the concept of elasticity in all of them. Then this is very important too, the factors that determine the level of production, the costs, and how the industries are structured. So, and this module is going to lead us to the 4 different market structures that go from perfect competition, a place where there are so many buyers, so many sellers, that the price cannot be changed. For example, I am one seller in a million, and I want to sell my merchandise less expensive. So it doesn't make sense, because I'm going to be losing money. So everybody sells the price, the merchandise at the same price. So if I lower the price, it doesn't make any sense. The opposite is also true. If you raise the price, so people know that that product costs $2 in the market, you are selling it for $3, and because there are so many buyers and sellers, so I'm going to be losing customers. So this is very important. Perfect competition is not observable in the real world, because there is no industry in real life where we have millions of buyers and millions of sellers. One case can be the stock market. Probably if we look at the market in America, the stock market in America, there are many firms, there are many instruments. So many people are selling stock and bonds and all these things. And there are so many people who are buying. So at some point, the price of the stock is determined by the supply and the demand. So that might be a case of perfect competition. Besides that, we don't have any other case. So monopoly is the opposite case when we have one single company. So for example, Con Edison happens to be a monopoly because they are the only sellers and producers of energy. So electric power. So monopoly is the extreme case of perfect competition. So we have so many firms, so many consumers. Here we have one producer, and everybody is buying from them. In between, we have this monopolistic competition, which is, as you can see, a deviation from this, and then we have an oligopoly. So the monopolistic competition is that we have many firms, but not that many, that the actions of one company influences the other one, right? So we have the last case of oligopoly. So this is kind of like, so monopolistic competition is closer to perfect competition, and oligopoly is close to monopoly. So oligopoly is just a few number of firms dominating the market. For example, we have in the cell phone companies, we have T-Mobile, we have Verizon, and some other companies. Those are the big companies that determine price, the price of the service. Airlines is another example of oligopoly. We don't have that many. So the market is populated by few airlines that they try to differentiate their product as much as they can. So you have American Airlines that offers more leg room, or Atlantic, or I don't know, some others that say, well, you can travel with your luggage for free. So everybody's trying to make them unique in the market. So that is the idea of oligopoly. Monopoly and antitrust policy, well, that's part of what is policy in action. Many people might say, well, I don't care that we have only one company called Con Edison. I'm happy with the service. I'm probably not too happy, but it can be not that bad, right? So I don't think many people complain about Con Edison. But many people might believe that if you have more plants like Con Edison, you can improve services and prices. That can be true, but in some cases, like Con Edison, you have a company that can survive because of those prices. So if prices were lower, probably they won't be able to recover the cost of production. Remember, Con Edison investments are huge. So to produce electricity, they have to invest a lot of money. So that's the debate. Do you allow the company that is the only one, or you don't? Many cases where governments are fighting market power. Many people might agree or might disagree that Google and some of these technological companies have a very large share of the market. So that can be unfair because power can be used in some ways that is not good for society. So that is the issues of monopoly and antitrust. Antitrust means anti-monopolistic practices. So that's the policy of undermining the power of monopolies. So at the end, these two topics, very good. Environmental protection, very important topic nowadays. And the last one is poverty and economic inequality. So what we are going to learn, and that's probably the first clue I said, the economy, when it's efficient, can produce inequality. So you have an economy like the American economy working fine, But you can see that there are many inequalities in income across America. Is that, well, that's a debate that I probably won't enter into, but it's true. So why poverty and how we can alleviate poverty and decrease income inequality. So some governments might have some plans. Some others might have some other plans. Like Democrats believe that raising taxes and probably distributing those taxes among the poor might be the best way to combat poverty and inequality. I think Republicans are more on the side that, well, if there are companies, you can get a job and you can be independent and you can buy your house and you can buy your car and you can have your dog. So, so those are two different points of view, how you combat poverty and promote more economic equality. Well, that's a big issue that probably we are not gonna solve in this class, but it's a very good thing to think about. So I think that is it for today. Those are the requirements. Please make sure that you read them very carefully and you start doing your assignments. And one thing I want to say, my apologies, this message was supposed to be sent at 10, well, I was planning to do a live session, but this is the graduation week. And besides FIT, I have a position somewhere else and I need to be there. So I will be, I'm sorry, I couldn't make it personally, but if you have any question, you have my email address. You can ask me any question except my age. And please complete your assignments and good luck. Thank you very much. And I will see you around.